5EM podcast, everybody. Ooh-wee. My name is Ryan, aka Rhath. We got Jason with a little yellow bauble in his face. Just how he likes just how he likes
I like
it.
my
At least
baubles.
there's no strap on it.
I like yellow baubles or bust.
I think he'd chew right through a ball gag. Nothing's going to shut him up. I don't know what I mean by that. We're joined.
He's tried. It was an awkward Monday evening.
Just remember the
very
safe
sloppy.
word and you're fine.
And we're joined by Mark. Hello, mate. How are you?
Hi.
Hey.
Hey, everyone. Hi, Internet Land.
Actually, we'll do the thing, and then we'll go into the thing.
Do the thing. I'll get right into it. We don't even pre-banter.
No.
Okay. Before we get started, I just want to acknowledge the custodians of the land, the Wurundjeri Woiwurrung people of the Kulin Nation. As I say every podcast, it's important to understand, acknowledge that, we are conducting ourselves in stolen land. Sovereignty was never ceded, treaties were never signed, and we just need to continue to respect that we're all visitors here on this land, wherever we are in Australia, and that we're the Parliament's now. We're hoping to get a voice to Parliament soon, which will be very good. Even though there's a lot of stupid debate around it. But yeah, I said we're very lucky to come here every 2 weeks, or whatever event we run or we go to, and everyone there is very privileged and lucky to be able to share their stories and voices for whatever medium they wish. When so many First Nations people's voices have been silenced throughout history and even up until this day. And also, I just want to acknowledge the Palawa people of Lutruwita in Nipaluna, which is the First Nations people of Tasmania, and specifically in Hobart, where I unfortunately grew up. All right.
Shout out to Tassie.
It's true. We
Shout out
checked
to
for
Tassie
the
gang.
scar.
Yeah. Tassie boys.
Yeah, you can't hide the branding.
Anyway.
Scar tissue never... never mind. Couldn't think of anything else. Mark, how are you?
I am adequate. No, I'm good.
Adequate? Good.
That's good.
Excellent. Normally on this podcast, we bring in other poets and other creatives and what have you. That's kind of been the goal. But the goal. But you offered yourself up as a sacrifice for as a non-creative to come onto the, or at least a non-performing creative.
No, non-poet or musically inclined creative. Yeah.
Yes. Do you have creative ventures outside of the usual performance-based ones that we're talking about?
Most of them are all nerd-based, but yeah.
Beautiful. Kind of talking my language. What I prefer to do.
This is a side hustle, yeah. Mm-hmm. The real money's in tabletop figurine painting, isn't it? Yeah.
I think the ceiling is equally low.
Fleetingly disappointing, yeah.
Well, creatively wise, it's actually getting a lot easier with the paints and stuff that they're making now.
Oh,
you can get
100%.
such good effects with just easy paint.
Yes, and now I'm enjoing. We're just going straight into the
into
nerdy
it.
stuff.
Do you know, this is as soon as Ryan and I talked about this yesterday, I was nearly gonna we need to calm down on the Warhammer stuff, and I was like, no, I'll see where it goes, and straight into it.
I think the audience. I think most people who are listening to the podcast these days are probably poets who come to this night, and I assume a lot of them play D&D and other similar projects.
Fucking nerds.
Some other things.
Or do cosplay.
Or cosplay. I've always.
LARPing.
I don't know if I could LARP. I don't think I could pull it off. I think I would...
you really want to, though.
I want the costume. I really want the costume, but I don't know about the actual acting. I think I would fall over.
See, LARPing for me would be fun, but the problem is I essentially do LARPing too much with my job when I go on field exercises where we're pretending to shoot real bullets and we're not.
Sure.
Do we want more context to that? Or
So I'm in the military.
Okay, cool.
I prefer leaving it vague.
We pretend to shoot real bullets. That's more fun that way.
I don't know if you've heard of the Proud Boys, but...
Jesus Christ. I'm sure most of our audience does actually know what we're talking about. Though I was going to say with the paints, to bring it to the paints, I really like the amazing effects that we can get with modern tabletop miniature paints and stuff like that. And there's also now a flip side where a lot of accounts, a lot of people are trying to go for the old style and seeing old stuff, really loud, bright, vibrant, old school Warhammer stuff being posted on Instagram. It makes me very, very happy, and I'm starting to get into it.
I have seen some. I may have watched some videos of people playing Warhammer and stuff. and seeing the big figurines painted immaculately, and I was just like, that's just too much. I don't want to appreciate this, but I have to, and it takes so much. Like, I don't. Yeah, it takes way too much time. But if you're into it, obviously it's a labor of love.
I think so. Back in the day with Warhammer, like I've had an idea of how to bring this all around into Vibe Union stuff. When I was
Tabletop Night, yeah.
I was thinking about that. If we ever get a space, because we want to get a Vibe Union space of our own. If that ever happens, I'm 100% running games nights. It is happening.
I'm there.
$75 a head. We need to make money.
Yeah.
Sorry, gamers generally have a lot of disposable income.
That's true, actually. Yeah.
So do creatives, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So when I was getting into Warhammer, usually you start by first going to a library or something like that, or maybe your brother's got some old White Dwarf magazines lying around, and you're looking at these professionally painted miniatures that is both very inspiring and very, very daunting. Not only is there this enormous amount of upfront cost to get into the hobby, but also you're looking at people who paint miniatures for professionally, like every single day of their life, and that is what's on the magazine, and that is really, really daunting. Now with online, you get that, and also to a higher degree. Now there's painters who blow the heavy metal team or the heavy metal team out of the fucking water. No shade to the painters at Warhammer, but they have a particular style. But I've been really
Warhammer
enjoying
demographic that we pull in. Yeah.
Shout out to
about that, guys and gals.
What, guys and girls? You mean guy and maybe a girl?
It's opening up. It's opening up.
There's 3 girls in there somewhere.
I'm very glad to see that there's more and more. Well, fewer and fewer toxic men gatekeeping the Warhammer world and tabletop gaming in general.
Don't push your agenda on us.
I'll push my agenda on whoever. I know you.
Agenda.
Also, Vibe Union stands by that point. I've decided.
Vibe Union stands Warhammer.
There is all of that online, but now also you see a lot more rough. Really, it is rougher. It is more. Is less of a higher echelon of like painting styles. Perhaps it's more unique styles, much more approachable styles online for Warhammer. And seeing all that kind of stuff has made me much more interested in actually painting, which I do a little bit of.
Yeah, and it's like the way I see it, it's essentially just a form of artistic expression. But the way I see it, it's essentially 3D paint by numbers.
Yes, I think that's how it used. Well, I think that's how it used to be. And still is to a degree, but I think there's more weird shit happening online now that is inspiring other people to just ignore what they see in the magazines and what they see on the Warhammer official Instagram page.
Yeah, I think mean, you could put that into other spaces, online games as well. You know, people have world building games or whatever. They've been playing thousands of hours and they make this amazing world, and someone's like, I just want to play this game and make a house, but they look really good. I don't want to do it. I think kind of seems same. They want to get into Warhammer and painting. They just seem like this massive Slanesh.
Yeah, great.
Yes, there we go.
Look at you with the terms. You know what you're talking about.
They're adorable.
Do we have a favourite Warhammer Chaos God?
Slanesh.
Slanesh is yours?
What, the one that's into BDSM, pretty much?
That makes sense.
I'm saying too much.
It comes back to the ball gag.
Look at that. It's almost like
Slanesh Daddy. Anyway, but yeah, so people see like the world paint, like amazingly painted stuff, and they're like, "Well, I can't do it." But yeah, so you see other people posting their attempts, if you want to call it, and it makes it more accessible. So I think the same thing as kind of like open mic poetry.
Thank you. You see where I was going. Exactly.
Look,
that's called a segue, ladies and gents.
Beautiful. We're usually very bad. That's actually quite astonishing.
Yeah, I assume that was where you're going.
That's exactly where I was going. And it's better if we ruin the segue by talking.
Yeah, exactly. Have you met me?
Every day. Every day I meet you.
But yeah, so like say it was poetry, we've had a lot of people that are like, oh, don't know if I could do it or whatever, and then they do it, and we've talked about it many times. People that come in, we've had a few people in. It's like, we're just checking the vibe out, just checking it out, blah blah blah. People will sign up. People will sign up, and then they'll sign up online, and then they won't talk to. They might be here. I don't know who they are, and I haven't seen them, and they won't tell me they're on the list because obviously, they've signed up, and then they might not. and then they'll sign up again 2 weeks later,
Yeah.
and they'll perform. And I'm
Yeah.
like, you signed up 2 weeks ago, and you went, and so they might have even been here and just sussing
Yeah.
the place out.
I've also realised something that I'm going to change about the website, the way signups work.
Okay.
But that's not
Okay,
for
cool.
that's not for
Thank you for
podcast.
interrupting me and then saying that I'm not even going to go at this point that I interrupted you for. I appreciate that.
No,
it's really good content. But yeah, This not borderline. The base level of poetry is
Yeah.
I don't think it's a base level of poetry. I think there's just doing poetry and then.
It should be an accessible medium.
But that's why a lot of people don't do the competitions that we've talked about with
Exactly.
Michael,
Yeah.
whatever month ago. It's just because the quality, so to speak, is a lot better. That's the same as that I would never do a freestyle because I'm like, I don't trust myself to be able to go to a freestyle night and go like shot kickers.
Yeah.
Shout out shot kickers.
Every Tuesday.
Every Tuesday, it's shot kickers.
No further explanation. Great.
Tune with the beat. But yeah, I would never freestyle because I don't believe that. Even the entry level for me, I'm like, nah, no, I'm not even gonna fucking try it. Not even for me.
Yeah. Well, I was all right. So I'm going to ask then, Mark, your creative outlet seems to be then in the miniature world or
miniature and online. Like
Yep.
I'm also a Minecraft player. I'm that much of a nerd.
Yep, brilliant.
And yeah,
You and like maybe billions of other people.
Oh, yeah.
Billions of people.
It's the most popular video game of
Yeah.
maybe of all time.
Yeah, and I watch on that, like creatively, watch what people create on those things, like these massive things. And like when it comes, like again, back to what Jace was saying about poetry, like I've been coming along now to Vibe Union, like to Radio Talk, for probably about a year, I think. I'd like to think it's probably been about a year.
Were you at? Did you come to the other previous venue?
No, I didn't go to the previous venue. I've only been coming here.
Oh no, we have done a year now. Just here.
We've been we hit a year
yes.
a month or so ago.
Yeah, maybe a little bit under a year,
Yeah.
but yeah. So I've been coming along, and like I'm a very like. Well, I won't say soft spoken, but like I'm a like an emotional person as well, and like I love a lot of the performers here, and it's like it has somewhat inspired me to try writing poetry and realizing once I try it how hard it is, which gives me more appreciation for the people that do perform.
But that's what I said. Like people have said that like it's really hard to write poetry, and then I'm just like, oh no, it's not that. I just go on that mind, like, oh, it's not really that hard. And then I remember when I first started, as I always said many times, I started, it was fucking hard.
Yeah.
And I forget that I'm like, actually, no, it is kind of difficult. And then, like, once again, I see a ton of people here doing it for the first time, and they go, oh, this is my first time ever. And I'm like, I hate you so much. Why are you so good?
Well, see, it's a case of like I remember I tried to write a poem once. And it started out, I was trying to do the very sort of basic rhyming every second verse type, like the last word had to rhyme with that sort of thing. And then it kind of just devolved after speaking to Izzy, one of the other guests that you've had on here that's been around, last name redacted. And like I'm a good friend of Izzy's, and I've watched them perform, and I sent it to Izzy, and like they were, and I was speaking to them, and they're like, well, it doesn't have to rhyme. I was like, oh, okay, cool. And then it kind of devolved into that to me just telling a story, and I was like, it's not really
what it is.
Yeah, but it wasn't really a poem. It was more just it started out as a poem, but then kind of went into just me talking stuff.
So once you took the rhyme element out, it was more. You thought it was more just telling a story more.
But it gave me a better appreciation for like the talent that people have when they can perform things. And a lot of the times, like the reason I keep coming back here is one, to support my friends, but two, I actually really enjoy listening to it. And a lot of the times, like sometimes I get an emotional reaction from it. Like there's been times I've listened to poems here and I've actually got a tear in my eye. Like it's amazing.
This is by far the best way, I think, to learn about humanity is to be to see as many people from as many walks of life in a very short period of time, and get an actual deep emotional understanding. Not an understanding. better empathy, I think, for as many people as in a very quickly, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and people pour their like a lot of the time, people will pour their heart and soul into a piece that they've written, and it may be based on truth, it may be based on experiences, it may be based on something that just happened to them that week, and there'll be anger, there'll be sadness, there'll be chaos, whatever, and I think it's an amazing, and for me especially, moving myself at the moment and studying to move into another career, it gives me a view on humanity that I previously have not had.
Yeah. You don't find that in the military.
No, there's a lot of that. Well, look at this, we're coming back again. It's a lot of that like toxic masculinity.
Yeah.
Oh, what shocker.
Yeah.
What a surprise when you've got people who are trained to kill.
Yeah.
You can kill sensitively, I think. I'm sorry. It's funny seeing, because I try my best to go to other poetry nights. I fail a lot of the time. But yeah, seeing other nights where, because we've got our own little community now, and we've got a lot of people that come back and stuff, but then going to other poetry nights and seeing they've got their little stuff, but then little stuff, there's little stuff. There's
It's cute.
It's kind of cute. There's fatherless people there, but, it's whatever. It is what it is. We're the bad boys of poetry, and people enjoy that. So the bad beefy boys of poetry. No, but I don't see a lot of we've had a lot of people be here and be very vulnerable in a really intense way. Like they may have been here once. Like, okay, we'll do something a bit more whimsical, whatever. And the next time it's like, okay, now I'm going to talk about something really personal. But I haven't really noticed from other nights, lack of the ones I've been to, other than, it's really, they're doing poems. Like, I just want to do a poem because I like doing poetry, but there's less expression there than other people, other than say radio talk. In my opinion, I'm biased, but
What? No.
yeah,
I think to tie it all together, to bring it back to the overarching topic, I think it comes from the unassuming nature. Perhaps it's our insecurities, the reason that we can't. We really struggle to. We're riffing and joking about we're the fucking best poetry in town or what have you. But when you see us running the night, or when you hear us talking about it, usually it's like we don't know what the fuck we're doing. We are not real poetry boys. We're trying our goddamn best. We don't know what the fuck Vibe Union's doing. We're just fucking around and seeing what works. And I can't. That's why I've struggled in the hip hop scene. I know you feel the same. That we can't posture. We can't be up on stage and fucking acting like we're the best rappers. We're the best rappers in the world. All other rappers are
number
worse
one
compared to us.
You're number 2. Yeah.
Can't do it. And I've been told off. But people have come up to me after a gig and said, "Stop putting yourself down. You need to
be more grr."
Yeah. And I was like, "No, I find it really funny when I fuck up and laugh at myself." And I know other people have come up to me as well afterwards and been like, "Oh, that gains a lot. That gives a lot more humility to it. It makes it much more approachable." And so that approachability, especially in the poetry thing that we're doing, I think is really, really important, because people like yourself will walk in and go like, "Oh, I can do this. I can actually do this," instead of going into a competition.
But even if not even going, "Oh, I can do this." It's just like, because Izzy and stuff. So obviously, is it you? That's your connection with this, right?
Yeah.
So it's like you can bring a friend along. Like, I do this maybe every now and then. Like, I'm here once a month or whatever. I come here, I enjoy it. You'll enjoy it. Just come and chill with me for an hour or two, and it's not. You don't have to do a poem. You just come here and chill. You can talk shit. We have some breaks, have a drink. We can just have some fun. I'll do a poem. You can listen to other people. It's pretty nice. It's a pretty nice vibe. The MC is a bit weird, but
only a little bit.
Only a little bit. If you take that out of the way, the sound work is immaculate.
Well, at times.
Most of the time.
I get distracted.
But yeah, I think it's kind of we've lent ourselves to come here. It's not just the poetry now. It's the rest of the bullshit that comes with it. Whereas a lot of the other nights, it's you're just here. We're here for poetry, and then you leave.
Well, and you see, the thing is, and I think one of the performers that's been here a couple of times that you guys know, like Lane, Lane has said it the best before here, which is, you know, nights like this, poetry doesn't happen without people to listen to it. And not everyone who listens is a performer. Some people just enjoy it and may not feel confident enough to be able to do it, or maybe are too shy or have social anxiety or whatever, but they still enjoy coming along. And it's because people can, a lot of the poems that are performed, people can relate and connect to it in a certain way that the eloquency with which people perform gives inspires other people to go, you know what, yeah, like I get that, like I totally get where you're coming from, I understand, and it gives you that sort of sense of not humility, but like that emotional connection to people that you may generally not meet.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, had you been to any poetry nights prior to this one?
Never.
Had you ever considered going to a poetry night prior to this one?
Never.
Interesting.
You already become a lawyer now. It's like,
Yeah. Well, I rest my case. I mean, that makes sense. That makes sense.
Cross-examined. You said you'd never been to a poetry night before. I don't know. I wasn't going. I don't know where I was going with that.
I don't know enough legal terms.
Well, see,
sustained.
Yeah, good.
There we go.
Good.
Done. Gavel.
well, for me as well, it's also a case of like I grew up in Melbourne. I grew up southeast suburbs of Melbourne, and
Lucky.
yeah, and I left, joined the military when I was like 17. Have lived all over Australia, and you know the culture of Melbourne is always described a lot of the time that there is a lot of culture and things to experience and stuff here. And now after 25 years, I'm finally back living here and looking to basically stay here. So I'm starting to do things that are like, you know, I've never done this before, or let's go to that. Like this weekend, I'm going to a musical theatre rave dance party.
That sounds incredibly weird, but like
I don't understand how that would
wholesome at
work.
the same time.
Wholesome and fun.
Yeah, you're just like,
So are they dancing while the show is happening?
No, so they're just performing a lot of like songs.
Yeah.
Like from like whether you're a Disney nerd, a Hamilton nerd, Chicago, Mamma Mia, Rocky Horror, whatever. People are dressing up in costumes. There's also a lip sync battle and all this sort of stuff. Like it sounds fun. And a friend of mine was organising it, and they were like, "Hey, do you want some tickets to this?" I was like, "Sure, let's go, see what happens."
yeah, I think that's one thing I lack in is like I don't go to many
Cultural
other
things.
No, I don't go to. No, I don't like if I saw that, I'm like, I'm not. It's not worth the risk for me. I'm not putting all the effort into. Well, for me mentally, just going to I'm going to go here, going to go this. If it's on my own, or if I'm like, God forbid, invite someone else. I'm like, hey, I saw this show that I have no idea what it is. Do you want to take the risk with me? And then you go, and if it's good, you go, thank you for coming. I'm glad we had a good time. But if it's really shit, you go, I'm really sorry it was shit, kind of thing.
I'm taking my mother.
Hell yeah.
Well, I can't.
Is she a musical theatre fan?
My mum's just a fan of
She loves raves.
anything music and stuff. She's like, yeah, let's go. Like, sounds fun.
Cool. Yeah, nice.
I think I've been trying to get to a few more gigs and stuff. But yeah, it's sort of one of those things. Like I want to go to some different genre stuff, but
it's interesting to me because the question of asking if you'd been to poetry before, because I feel very much the same as Jason. Like I'll kind of see some things pop up and I'm like, but I could stay home. Has anyone considered?
I could do this for the 5th day in a row. Stay home at night.
I love staying home. It's my favorite place to be. All my miniatures are there. All my real friends. With poetry, I found I really struggled to get friends to come to poetry. I still do. Like I've got friends in poetry, and I've got friends who would never dream of coming to poetry. It's interesting to me, and I'm making some assumptions here, but from what you've already said, they might be spot on. A guy who has spent all of his time in the military, it does not seem a place that would encourage. Well, I don't think poetry would probably not be a big thing. Self-expression,
not
maybe
really.
not the biggest
No,
thing.
not really.
Creativity, individuality.
Yeah, we're all wearing the same clothes.
Yeah.
Oh, we're getting there. We're getting there one day. We're slowly trying to become a
Oh,
cult.
well, currently
Oh,
there's...
No, the poetry.
I
Nothing
thought we were
else.
going to bring casual dress to the military.
No,
Well, they're currently like we're starting to relax rules on like uniforms and all sorts of stuff, and it's like it's great. It's being very progressive. Like hell,
Okay.
I'm allowed to have a tattoo on my hand.
True.
oh, I always find that funny. It's like, yeah, you could be in the military, but no, sorry, the tattoo's too much. No, we don't need your type of people here.
It's
Like,
going to really send the wrong message.
yeah,
Send the run message, but here's a gun.
yeah.
So do you have any preconceived notions of kind of like what poetry was, or is it more just
Ooh, that's a good question, actually.
jumping straight in because Izzy brought you, or what did you first think when someone says to you, you want to come to a poetry night?
See, my only concept of poetry and poems was essentially, what we all learnt in school, rhyming words to
Yeah.
make, like, to tell a story of some kind. As I said before, like the usual every second line.
A B A B A B.
The last word
Yeah,
had to rhyme. Yeah, like that was my only real concept of poetry. I remember, like in my early 20s, I think at one point there was a couple of things that I read that were really like insightful, but I struggle to remember what they were. I've drunk way too many beers since then. And yeah, I just like, I met Izzy, and Izzy and I became like really good friends. And I think Izzy read one of their poems to me once, and knowing Izzy pretty well, and like you guys know the type of poetry that Izzy does, I was like, wow, that's really like the human element, which for me, I hadn't, for a lot of my life, I hadn't had that sort of emotional, raw, vulnerable sort of thing due to the lifestyle that I had, which was a part of my job. I just hadn't had that sort of not creative outlet, but the area to go to be able to, listen to someone, relate to it, and, feel the emotions that you may or may not feel from someone performing.
I think that's what you said, like the relatability, even if it's someone, because going back, like the stuff, my school growing up didn't really teach us anything that creative, shocker. But
Tassie.
Yeah, it depends where I went.
Which is weird because Tassie's is known for Mona.
Yeah, but that's the time.
Have you been to Mona?
No.
I'm
not saying Mona's good. I'm saying
that's a whole other thing.
I'm saying that it has a
David Walsh is a massive asshole who owns it. I don't care if he's got autism.
It's about
or
the
not.
reputation. I'm just saying the like.
Anyway, yes. Well, I don't bring up. I really want to rant about Mona. It's not the point.
He will go on a tangent and we'll be lost.
Love Mona
I know we
rants.
said no cuff too tough, but come on.
Fuck Mona, dark mofo, and anyway, what's this? Yeah, the relatability. Even if it's not anything. If someone's doing a poem, even if it's not a subject that affects you in general, obviously it's a personal experience of whatever. The relatability comes from the vulnerability, I guess. Yeah. Of like, because if you look at the stuff, going back to what learning stuff at school, or not learning, but like the only poetry that you had was very completely different to what is performed now. Yeah. There's more rhyming, there's more sonnets and soliloquies and all these kind of different types of things. Whereas now it's just more like heavy hitting, poignant stuff, which is not say that the other poems in the 1700s weren't the same, but there was more of a whimsical nature to it now. Whereas we have in our book, Chaotic Musings Volume 1, Good Book by Book.
Good book by book.
We have
links on our website.
We have a queer horse story and Fuck You Helen. Yeah. You're not going to get that in 1700s,
No.
So I think for people that don't know poetry, if they don't have someone like saying, if you don't have someone like an Izzy saying here's what the thing is, you're like, I don't really want to listen to that rhyming stuff all the time.
Yeah, the appeal to me is, as I said again, like being able to connect with people, but also watching people be vulnerable, because poetry is very much like, it is people are like expressing raw vulnerability and emotions about topics that some people may like, some people may not.
Yep.
But for me, the appeal is watching those people perform it and seeing in not just their gestures or the tempo or the challenge they've given to the musician at the time to try and keep up with them, but seeing that raw emotion in a world nowadays where, you know, we're more like, we're all about instant gratification. We're all on our phones, swipe left, swipe right, do whatever you want, go to AI, chat GPT, all that sort of stuff. We've kind of lost that. For me, I feel, like personal opinion, but I feel like we've lost that sort of connectivity in getting to know people and understand like both the light and the dark of the people that you meet, and seeing that raw emotion. And the way I see it performed here, it gives me that sort of connectability of, like, I may not know the person, but watching them makes me go, wow, it feeds my soul essentially.
Well, when you're seeing, especially seeing it live, like, we have people who come up here for the first time and they start reading and they choke. And or they'll forget a line, and you see the look of fear wash over them. You see the color almost drain from their face, and the first thing you hear is a wave of clicks coming from the audience. Everyone's like, "Don't worry about it. You fucking got this."
Yeah.
And then they go through it, and you can still hear their voice shaking, but that initial. I was gonna say mistake, which is not necessarily a mistake,
Hiccup,
but that initial hiccup immediately grounds it, makes you human, makes you again very approachable.
That is indicative of poetry nights in general, which is as much as I'm not a huge fan of giving credit to other nights because it's me. But
that's a great
obviously I didn't start poetry by doing radio talk or Talking Blue. But that's one of the things. I said even doing Slammer, the competition, an individual that shall not be named. They did a poem in the final, and they forgot their lines. And they hit hard, and then they just forgot. And then, there was like 200 people there, maybe. Was it Brunswick Ballroom sold out? How many would that be? 200, 150, maybe. I
would say 200 seated, maybe.
Well, let's go 150, and then you said all like 100 people at least doing that. And then they were like, rules are
a locust swarm.
There was a bunch of locusts come in, stripped him, and he was just a skeleton. But
it was a great performance.
The skeleton was carried off.
It was so raw. It was so real.
The point is, like, they broke the rules. I'm like, do you just want to start your poem? We'll start the timer again. You want to start your poem again? And I'm like, even a competition where usually, you know, everyone, all the other competitors could have been just like, no, that's not fair. Everyone's like, well, fuck it. Like, give them another chance. Like, fucking, just let them. It's a poetry competition, and this is not just So I think with most nights, it's if someone is hiccuping, so to speak, or forgot a line. It's sorry. I'll kind of start again. I'm like, no. You need to stand there for 3 minutes and try to remember exactly what you're doing
while everyone's standing there silent.
And you cannot
crickets.
start again. So that's one thing most poetry nights that I've been to is very good at. Is no matter how many people are there, there'll be at least, if it's a very small crowd, there'll be at least a few people doing that.
And again, it's that's the support and the community around all this. And I think the community and the support that comes from it is because people understand that, like, it's like anything. Everyone had their first time. Everyone has had a slip up, and it's not judgmental. It is people want to hear. People want to see other people succeed, and they want to hear what they have to say and feel some sort of connection.
I think then I'm thinking when you say people want to see other people succeed, I think the people then people think that other people don't want them to succeed, even though they want to. So then they go like, oh, I don't want to get too big for my britches.
It's a fear of failure. Everyone's got a bit of a fear of failure.
I don't want to. It's a bit of an imposter syndrome kind of thing.
Like a lot of people will never think that they're good enough to do anything. Like that's a bit of a generalization, but you know, a lot of people have that, not, I suppose, imposter syndrome, but like we're always our harshest critic, our own harshest critic. And you know, when you go up, and especially for some people, like some people struggle with public speaking, and standing up and then stuffing up straight away. Like, as I've come to learn, the brain processes 500 words a minute, but you can only speak like 140-ish. All of a sudden,
high.
so that no,
That seems high.
no,
to me.
it's true. It's true. The brain
Depends
will
on the brain.
process.
No, speaking them.
Speaking them, yeah.
I'm like,
think
I've got 6 a minute, maybe. Like,
But
you can go.
But you see,
can
that's
go
the
over
thing.
5.
So all those unspoken words,
Yeah.
they're the thoughts that race through your head
that's
of
a
all
good
of a
point,
sudden,
actually. Yeah,
like
yeah.
the nightmare of, you're on stage and you're naked in front of people and you're like, what am I doing? And everyone's been there. Everyone understands it. And everyone understands that, it's a process that you go through, and seeing that support can bolster you because everyone knows they were supported at some point when they've slipped up. So they support those people, see them succeed, and then they come off and they have like that euphoria of I just performed. Like, it's amazing.
Well, your body learns. Your body learns that initial fuck up. Your body remembers. If that was I was talking to someone recently about this, about like the body does not know the difference between like physical danger and social danger. It still it feels it is just this fear, this anxiety. It is your body like rushing you full of adrenaline to be like, just be ready for whatever's about to happen. You might be attacked by a tiger, or you also might forget your lines at a poacher night. Either way, we're fucked. And that first night, when you fuck up, if you hear that wave of clicks, that might mean that might be the difference between you doing this and not doing this, because your body might remember being like, hey, remember that time we fucked up and we were fine? Or if everyone's like, come on, mate, get the fuck, we got time, you're killing time, move on. That's why I admire the fuck out of comedians who can bomb over and over again.
See, that's like you've just reminded me, and it may be a little bit of a tangent, but hey, no cuff too tough.
It's a podcast.
Yeah,
No cuff
so
too tough.
that actually reminds me of like, and it's just it sort of looks back on society and what we've seen. But I recently did a course on, it was a 1-day course on resilience, and during that they put up like a TED talk. We all love a good TED talk, and this one was about making stress your friend, and basically it was about changing your mindset, because for the longest time we've all said, stress is bad, stress causes health problems, blah, 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 blah. And like when you're in that sort of fight or flight response on the stage, adrenaline's going, your heart's bouncing, your hands are shaking. Changing your mindset to accept that it's not because you're going to fail and you're going to run out, but changing your mindset to say, yep, okay, that is my body doing physical things to prepare myself for something.
Yeah.
And then accepting that and allowing the body to then allowing the mind to influence the body actually will allow you to accept the benefits of being in that sort of situation.
Yes. Oh, I have some questions then. Okay, relating to and
Here we go.
this is again.
I just created a monster.
I'll just sit here then and just
I don't know fuck all about the military, but and I've not known anyone who's been in the military. A running kind of bit within hospitality, because I've been in hospitality for 15 years, is comparing hospitality to being in the trenches, which obviously that's an extreme version of that.
Yep.
But rather talking about people who stay in hospitality for a long term, either become alcoholics, or actually learn to thrive in the stress.
Yep.
And I've recognized that more and more of what I enjoy about performing as well, is being on stage and even doing podcasts, is sitting in, is teaching your body to recognize that this is not actually a life and death situation, but use it as a chance to completely focus on the task at hand. Now, how do I get into this? How do you relate that to stressful situations, being in the military, or
Well,
at least to, I don't know. That's the main
well,
question.
okay. I've never been in a extremely stressful
Yeah,
situation.
I was being very flippant
I've
with
never
that.
been shot at in anger, thankfully,
Yeah.
and I've never had to shoot in anger, thankfully. But there's still there's stressful situations in every day. And when we're talking about performing and all this sort of stuff, i.e., I did some time as a recruit instructor, Righto, so I got the brand new recruits straight off the bus, and then for the next 12 weeks, myself and my staff were focused on training them to become soldiers.
Sure.
And part of that is to, one, we have to have that professional persona and all that sort of stuff. Well, not the persona, but have to be professional to be able to teach them things. And like for myself as the sergeant at the time, like I had to teach people, like a group of up to 60 people standing on a big drill square in the middle of nowhere. I had to stand in front of them for 45 minutes and teach them a specific movement. And I couldn't have notes or anything like that.
Sure.
I had to do it by memory.
Yeah.
So the only way it came for me was by repetition. I remember the first time I had to give a lesson, it was terrifying to stand there and in your mind, you're like, okay, what do I have to do? How do I do this? And you're standing there and you're shaking and you're like clenching your fists because you need to show them that you're not nervous and you're confident.
Yeah.
So you're doing all these things to try and overcome that fear of failure, all that sort of stuff, similar to performing, like whether it be poetry, rap or music or whatever. You're in front of people and you want them to, one, understand what you're saying and all that sort of stuff, but you also want to come across as confident because no one wants to come across as not confident.
Yeah.
So I had to teach myself how to, I had to learn essentially through those stressful situations, learn how to, get better at public speaking.
Yeah.
And be able to stand in front of people confidently and go, yep, cool, let's do this. I'm going to teach you all how to do this drill movement or whatever. And do it all by memory. And then if they don't get it right, that's okay. Just work through it with them. And at the end, like bring them off the parade square and go, yep, cool, we've done this, 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 and this. We're all good. But to them, I had to come across as like calm and collected. But inside, I'm friggin' terrified. And okay, getting away a little bit from poetry, but it's still that being able to take that stress of performing in front of people and teaching. And the mind is a wonderful thing. Teaching your body by changing your mindset to accept those feelings of like the adrenaline and all that sort of stuff and push through it and accept that it is just your body's reaction to help you. As opposed to be a negative thing that for the longest time we were told stress is bad, stress is bad, stress is bad. Yes, stress is bad and it can cause health issues.
Yeah.
But if you change your mindset on it, you can potentially start to use it to your advantage.
There's different kinds of stress.
Oh yeah, 100%.
I think we definitely equate all of it as one, which is incorrect. But I don't know what the difference is. But I've definitely been in places. I've worked in hospitality situations. Actually, the situation where I learnt how to deal with stress is also where I had a mental breakdown from stress, which I guess is probably the best lesson of, okay, there's my line and I need to avoid that. And so I pulled back. But I don't know what the difference is between the two. But I think it's really cool. I think it's really amazing that you can take any kind of situation like that. I assume there's loads of different jobs that probably do this as well. Like I imagine being like a doctor or something like that is a great place to learn. Like you better fucking learn how to deal with stress right now. And I am not saying, by the way, I actually realize I have said this. I'm not saying being a poet or working in hospitality is the same as being in the field or being a fucking doctor or being what have you.
No, we're generalizing.
I used to be a disability support worker. So there was some
there's some stressful situations
in children's
that you deal with.
respite. Being on stage is a little bit different to make sure someone doesn't smack their skull repeatedly against bricks while they're having a seizure. It's a little bit different, but it's a little bit.
Just a little
bit. Do you use that though? Do you take that?
No, but like there was, I said like actually I wasn't even trying to segue this, but you're talking about that adrenaline and stressful thing. There was, I said, this one shift, and it was me. I was technically casual, but I'm in there for like 6 years. Yeah. And there was everyone else there was at least 10 years older than me. Yep. There was one guy there, also named Jason, who was used to be a private investigator.
Great.
So his name wasn't Jason; it was Nathan. I don't know. I don't know if I was like, I don't know, I feel weird.
Okay.
Yeah, private investigator. Anyway,
Shout out to Jason / Nathan.
Nathan, the private. Anyway, but yeah, so this young girl, she had a seizure, and she was just in the lounge room, and I literally the lounge. There was like the lounge was there, but there was like segmented things. So I just fucking chucked the lounge, just grabbed it, chucked it across away, chill stuff, and I was like, you need to go over there. Take those kids there. Take over there. I'm like, you go call this and blah blah blah. And I was like, and then after everything's done, I was like, where the fuck did that come from? I was just like, it was either like you take the stress of going, okay, well someone's here. I'm like, okay, well they're gonna bang their head on there. So you got at least all the protocol that I hadn't even used for 5 years, never needed to, and all of a sudden it just kicked in. I was like, and everyone's just. I was like 26, and there's people there in their 40s and stuff that's going, okay, I'm going to listen to him. Okay, I'll go to this, that, and that. And then I'm like, no, fuck. Whatever you do, so, I was just bet to this. I'm like, no, go take this child and take them over there and just fucking do this and that. And I think taking that stress and put it into the right, is it that fight, flight, or freeze kind of thing sometimes? It's like, use that stress and then it just, and I was like, oh, I use that to my advantage.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. And talk like even if you've got 60 people in the place.
Yeah,
and the place that you do
the place
the military place and
parade
do
square,
stuff. Parade square, yes. Or like when you were talking about, I was talking about when I did my EP, I was anxious and stressed. And when we finished, I was talking to Georgia, and she was like, how much have you had to drink? I'm like, I'm just exhausted. I've just used all this. I've used everything, all the emotions I had to put in, like make sure I didn't fuck up in the show.
Oh yeah,
and to put up a good performance, even how anxious and stressed I was. I'm sick of saying stressed now. But yeah, I was thinking, you're correct.
I just had a random anecdote, but I'm not going to say it because
cool.
it's so wrong. Well, it's not wrong, but it's funny.
Don't cancel us, please.
No, I was going to say, you want a stressful situation? Try standing with a brand new recruit at a grenade range who's got a grenade, he's got his finger on top of it, and he's doing this, shaking. And you're standing there in the bay with them going, don't drop it, don't drop it, don't drop it.
Okay. So what's your anecdote about stress in the workplace, right?
Sorry, I'm taking this on a massive tangent now.
The coffee was too cold? What did you do?
All I can do is talk about like being, I've been threatened by people, by drunks, just to like cut. I got threatened to cut my lips off. That was fun.
Your sexy little lips.
Yeah. That's about it. That's the only stressful situation.
Did they want to take them home as a souvenir, or?
I don't know what he wanted. I don't know. He wasn't. He just said I had pretty lips, and he wanted to cut them off.
You got pretty lips, boy.
It was very. It had a bit of a rednecky vibe. It was out in the country.
That's lovely.
It was stupid. But also, I was the manager at the time, or like the assistant manager, at least in charge on premises at the time. But I was like 18, maybe 19.
Supple 18-year-old lips.
I look young now. Imagine me even smaller and even wider of eye.
Soft skin.
And this guy, it was not so good. But I remember like the guy threatened me and said, "Mate, I don't appreciate being threatened." And I just slammed the door in his face, and then I locked everything and fucked
You
off.
were hard fucking cool, man.
Then as soon as I walked away, I was
And you know what? And I'm not a podcast experience, but bringing it back
yes,
to
please.
what we were saying, at that situation, or at the situation you described, Jonathan, you had, yes, you're in a stressful situation, you had people around you supporting you. You had people to help you, people to go back on. In the same way that we were saying earlier, that when people slip up and all that sort of stuff here, the community supports them.
100%.
Look at that for a second.
That was like I'm a professional.
That's beautiful.
And on that note,
I think that's it. That's a beautiful place to wrap it up.
There.
Mark, thank you so much for being on. Thank you so much for wrapping it up better than we ever bloody well could. I don't think we've ever done a professional podcast, and this is the closest it's ever come to.
That was like bringing it back full circle. It was
yes, we complimented you. Okay, cool. We get it.
Thank you.
Good work, Mark. Everyone comment. Good work, Mark. And music by Sixpence, by the way.
Yeah. Do like and comment. Actually, we never do that, but
no.
There's not enough people comment on this, and
no one does actually.
We got one comment, and it was weird. Yeah,
apparently it helps with the YouTube algorithm.
I think we're probably not even worried about that. Especially we drink and swear and carry on, so we're kind of fucked anyway.
But music by Sixpence.
Music by Sixpence.
Good book by book.
We have a book, Vibe.Union on Instagram. Rye will link everything that he will link.
I won't. It's in the website link. That is there though. Okay. Okay, bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
everyone.